Good morning. I am 3 minutes earlier today. So if you're watching in recording, you're very welcome to stay with us through our hellos or just fast forward about 3 minutes to the beginning of the actual practice. As you can see, I'm back to Manhattan, having spent the last 10 days or a week in Connecticut and Brooklyn. And today, after this meditation, we're actually going back to Long Island. I'm so grateful. So many beautiful places, and the weather is just spectacular. So I'm going to just walk a little bit more towards that end of the little pond. Good morning, Joey. A lot of activity here today, I guess because it's Saturday. I hope they won't interfere. But look, really cute dogs. Good morning, Mary. Good morning, Zazu. I just saw those geese that we saw last time, but they moved somewhere. I just saw them crossing the street, but where did they go from there? Oh well. Ooh, ooh. There they are. Can you see them? It's a little far, but unfortunately I cannot zoom. But they're getting out of the pond, right where I'm pointing, onto the ground and the grass. So cute. Good morning, Mary. Yeah, I don't know if you're using a phone, you probably can't see, but maybe on a computer it's more visible. But they're very, very cute. Anyway, I'm gonna start setting up. For that I will need to angle my phone differently. Good morning, Sandra. All right. Well, I'll keep it. No, I don't think you can see it. So I'll angle it differently here. This is my favorite angle. Just not on this road. Sorry, guys, I'm mumbling. There are many rocks here and they're very uneven. And so I'm afraid that if I don't put the phone well, like if I don't position it well, it will fall into the pond. And I will not like it. All right, so it is time for us to start. And in our last session, we talked about this sad reality that most of us feel unloved and or not worthy of receiving any expression of love. So in the next few days, let's try to unpack it a bit. This is what Sharon Salzberg writes in her book. We are born ready to love and be loved. It is our birthright. Our ability to connect with others is innate, wired into our nervous systems, and we need connection as much as we need physical nourishment. And at the same time, we are also born to learn. And from our earliest days, we begin to create our map of the world and our place in it. We form simple expectations. If I cry, someone will come. Not. Soon we start to weave fragments of our experiences into stories to explain what is happening to us and what's happening in the world around us. When we are very young, most of these expectations and stories are implicit, kind of encoded in our bodies and nervous systems. But as we grow older, we become more explicit. And we may be able to recall where and when we first received a particular message about our worth and our ability to love and be loved. Each of us has our own individual history, family, life events that broadcast messages like a 24-hour cable news channel. Some of these messages penetrate our conscious mind, while the majority are received by our unconscious. And it may take years to retrieve and articulate. So we may be acting out of something that we're not even aware of. For most of us, life experiences are a rich mix of positive and negative. But evolutionary biologists tell us we have a negativity bias that makes us especially alert to danger and threat, lest we get eaten by a tiger, or so our nervous system tells us. In order to ensure our survival, our brains remember negative events more strongly than positive events to protect us from that tiger should it appear on our path again. So when we're feeling lost or discouraged, it can be very hard to conjure up memories and feelings of happiness and ease. For example, many of us get totally gaslighted as children. And sadly, our parents do it with the best intentions too. I'm sure at least some of you can recall that when you tried to express your sadness or fear or whatever it is, your parents told you something along these lines. Oh no, you're not sad. Everything is all right. Back to happy, back to happy. Or maybe even something stronger like, you don't look like a chicken, so why are you acting so scared? Or in this family, we are strong, we don't cry. Of course, as little kids, we don't have tools to deal with this kind of gaslighting of our feelings. So we start questioning, unconsciously, of course, questioning the validity of these feelings. And as a result, we internalize the message that it is unsafe to reveal our emotions. So no wonder that as adults, we are very cautious at expressing our feelings, including love. And often, we are cautious to express feelings even to ourselves. While this default fight or flight response is essential to our survival as a species and to our survival, individual survival when we're in real danger, like when that tiger really appears in front of you, but it can also be the source of great suffering when we're not in real danger and this fight and flight response still comes up and we still feel unsafe. With meditation, however, we can actually retrain our nervous system away from this fight or flight. We learn to identify our thoughts and feelings for what they are without getting swept away by them. In this series, we will use the practice of loving kindness a lot to gently, slowly open our hearts to the possibility of safe self-expression, to the possibility of authenticity, to the possibility of real love. So now let's do this basic loving kindness practice again, like we did it in our last session, using just one phrase, this time even one sentence. May I feel loved. And as we go through it, I invite you to simply pay attention to whatever arises. Thoughts, physical sensations, emotions. What arises as you repeat the phrase over and over again? Don't try to rush yourself to get the feeling of sweetness or resolution or whatever the feeling you may be wanting to get. Because it may or may not show up. It definitely cannot be forced. At this point, just be attentive to yourself. Because you're simply collecting the data of what the seemingly simple phrase, may I feel love, provokes in you on all levels of your being. And one more thing, I want to point out that this practice is different from affirmation practice. So in affirmations, we may tell ourselves that we're getting better and better, just trying to convince ourselves, right? And insist maybe that we are perfect just the way we are. Nothing wrong with those practices, of course, don't get me wrong. Just this loving kindness is not that. So if while you practice, you suddenly feel like kind of phony, right? Or like you're being, or begging, or imploring, kind of like, may I please, please, please feel loved already. So if something like that comes up, remind yourself that it is a practice of generosity. With this practice, with this phrase, you're giving yourself a gift of loving attention. Nothing more, nothing less. You say a phrase and you notice what this phrase provokes in you without judgment, without rushing into any sort of resolution you may want. All right, so, sorry. Let's take a comfortable position. And as always, take a few moments to settle. Settle into your body, into your heart, your mind. Settle into this moment, right here, right now. Your breath nice and soft, completely natural. Just noticing how your body is breathing itself. In and out, nothing to be forced. No struggle. Allowing all the experiences of the present moment to flow through you as energy. And now start repeating after me, silently or out loud. May I feel loved. May I feel loved. May I feel loved. I'll be silent for a little while, and you just continue repeating this phrase over and over again. Remember to give it enough space and enough silence in between so that the rhythm is pleasing to you, soothing. May I feel loved. Sorry? It's two. There's a white and black one. Brown one. It may be helpful to coordinate these phrases with the breath somehow. Or if that doesn't work, simply have your mind rest in the phrases. And whenever your attention wanders, no big deal. Always happens. Simply come back. Doesn't matter how many times you need to do it. May I feel loved. As you repeat the phrase over and over, notice what's happening in your physical body. Maybe there is some physical sensation that's associated with this phrase that is being provoked. No judgment, it's not good or bad. Just notice what is. Same with emotions. Maybe there are some particular feelings that now arise just because you're saying this phrase. No, it's not good or bad. Just is. Thoughts, What thoughts does this phrase provoke? And with thoughts, it's tricky not to get trapped by them as you watch them. So just be cognizant of that and return back to the body as soon as you identify the thought. May I be loved. And now repeat the phrase one more time, giving it your full attention on all levels of your being, and then gently let go of the practice. As always, scan your body, notice what's going on for you right now, physically, emotionally, mentally. How are you? And as you go through your day today, I invite you to continue with this basic loving kindness practice for yourself. Simply repeating the words, "May I feel loved," whenever you remember. See what arises in response, physically, emotionally, mentally. And remember that you are not in a rush to get anywhere with that. For now, we're just in this data collection phase. Later on, we will dive deeper into how we may or may not address what arises. It's a process. Enjoy it. Thank you so much for being here today. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you tomorrow.